Hello everyone, how are you doing? Hope everyone is doing good. So we continue with the reproduction in plants. This is our second video. So what are we going to do in this video? Vegetative reproduction, artificial vegetative reproduction, and their advantages and disadvantages. We also discussed the asexual reproduction and its different types in the first video. In this video, at the end, we are going to discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So before that, we need to cover the vegetative reproduction, because vegetative reproduction also comes under asexual reproduction. Okay, so let's begin with first vegetative reproduction, what it is. Now, either you call it as vegetative propagation or vegetative reproduction. The propagation and the reproduction are interchangeable words. More or less they mean the same thing. Okay, so let's just see the definition and then we'll go into a bit detail into it. So it is a type of asexual reproduction. What I told in the beginning, that vegetative reproduction is also asexual reproduction. Okay, wherein all the vegetables are there. So vegetables comes under plant. Plant can show two types of reproduction, sexual and asexual. Here we are focusing only on asexual. Okay, so here new plants will be formed from roots, stems, leaves, and buds. So basically all the parts of the plants are covered in this: root, stems, leaves, buds. So any part of the plant can be taken, okay, and from that a new plant is can be produced, can be reproduced. So a plant, if you take a leaf, that leaf is capable of producing a whole new plant. If you take a root, that root is capable of reproducing into a whole new plant. Okay, so that is what we mean by vegetative propagation. Isn't it interesting that just a part of the plant is capable of reproducing into a whole new plant? So let's see some examples under this. So you can see the picture over here. So let's just see by first we will take by parts, okay, by roots. So here you can see the murray plant, okay. So if you take the roots of the murray plant and you sow it into the soil, the roots are capable of growing into a whole young plant. This plant is growing from the roots. If you take ginger, जिसका scientific name is rhizome, gingiber officinale. If you take a bud of the ginger, you might have seen there are small buds in between these parts of ginger. Let's say this is a terminal bud, this is the internode, this is the node. So if you take a bud and you sow into the soil, that small bud is capable of growing into a whole new ginger plant. Okay, similarly, com. Yes, this form in Hindi, we call it as, in Marathi, we call it as, I'm not sure about the Hindi name, Suran. Okay. And also the family of Arvi, wherein they have brown skin color and then they are having this sticky substance. When you peel the vegetable, some sort of sticky thing comes out of it. Okay, so if you see the root, the bud and the root, so both of them, if you cut and you sow it into the soil, they are capable of growing into a whole new plant. Okay, then you might have seen this in your schools also, as in the lab your teacher might have shown you bryophyllum in school days. If not, it might be you had seen 12th standard, 11th में आपने देखा होगा. So reproduction by leaf. So you have this particular species of plant known as bryophyllum. In their leaf margin, you see these small gaps over here, and there from the bud, the new plant starts producing. So from the leaf, the bud emerges, and then the bud starts growing into a whole new plant that is capable of developing into a whole new plant. We call them as epiphyllous bud because they are floating in air. So if this is the leaf, let's say, okay, and here is the bud. So the root system will hang like this, yeah, and the shoot system will grow over on the top. So it is like a small plantlet which is on the top and on below the leaf surface, it is in contact with the air, but it is in attachment with the leaf. So all the nutrition it is taking from the leaf. So that is also possible. Then you can see there are certain garden plants you might have seen in gardens. There are ornamental plants which have these long, slender structures coming out of one plant, then they extend to the another plant. It seems like these plants are connected by these long, slender branches. They are known as runner. Okay, so one branch, if it comes in contact with the ground, it is capable of growing into a whole new plant. Similarly, stolon, they also work in the similar manner. So this is the parent plant, and then one stolon comes out, and if it comes into the contact with the ground, it is capable of developing into a whole new plant, the root system and the shoot system. Yes, so these are the examples of vegetative reproduction. We have some more, like the tuber, potato, very commonly known. Yes, all of you must be familiar with this. So you can see the potatoes, when you keep it for a longer period of time, the eyes start developing from the potatoes at particular regions, at particular notches. They are known as bud. And if you cut this bud and you sow it into the soil, they are capable of developing into a whole new plant. So tubers, you have sweet potato, the scientific name, the botanical name is Solanum tuberosa. Then you have bulb also. Okay, so you have two types of bulb. Here the example is alien, here the example is onion. The technical name is Allium cepa. So the scales, uh, here the scales will act as leaves. So the leaves can be sowed into the soil, and then they will be capable of developing into a whole new organism, whole new plant. Here the axillary bud here in the middle, if you might have ever cut an onion, you might have seen this structures. So this bud you can take and you can grow it into a whole new onion plant, or the roots you can take and grow it into a whole new plant. Then there are certain other plants also which can grow like this. These are underwater. Okay, these are what underwater. Just like we saw now stolon and runner, the branch was coming out on the ground, and then it gets in contact with the ground, another ground surface, and a whole new plant develops. Here the offset, it's like it's a water plant, and you have these root-like system which is growing underwater. And if one extends to some other place, let's say in search of nutrition, and then it comes in contact with the substratum and the nutrition, it is developing into a whole new plant, capable of developing into a whole new plant. Then another example is a chrysanthemum, which is a sucker plant. So even they grow like that. Yes, wherever they find nutrition, they will grow. They will extend their roots, and from the roots, different plants, new plantlets will come out. Then this is another example, reproduction through asexual reproduction through the bulbs. Okay, so a bulb will be able to generate a few bulbils, that is the smaller version of the bulb, and then that will be capable of capable of developing into a whole new plant. So these are the examples you just need to know. Tubers, bulb, stolon, runner, these names you should know. Okay, rhizome, reproduction by roots, reproduction by bud, bryophyllum. Yeah, mostly all the examples I've tried to include over here. There are many more examples. You can read the textbook and make a note of it. If you find any difficulty, you can ask for doubt on the live session. Okay, so these are all natural methods of vegetative propagation. Now we move to the artificial method. Okay, so vegetative propagation can be of two types. Those what we see now, what we have just went through, those were the natural methods. Artificial is like human intervention. Man is, there is intervention through human beings. So artificial vegetative reproduction is a type of plant reproduction that involves human intervention. It is asexual reproduction only. It's just that we are doing some procedures, okay, wherein we are developing certain varieties of plant as per our own desires, as per our own need. Yes, so there the artificial vegetative propagation comes into picture. Yeah, so you have cutting, you have grafting, and then you have tissue culture. Just few lines you need to know regarding all these three. So just first we focus on cutting. It's similar what we just discussed in the natural method of vegetative propagation, but here there, let's say the bud, when it matures, it falls off. Let's say the potato bulb, the potato bud or the eye, then it detaches from the body when it becomes mature and heavy, and then it automatically naturally grows into a whole new plant. But here human intervention, like you actually go to the plant and you cut it. Okay, in the natural method of reproduction, you're not doing anything to the plant. The plant naturally it is able to get in touch with the surface, get in touch with the nutrients, and capable of growing into a new plant. Here you are cutting any part of the plant, and you are taking that part of the plant and sowing into a whole new environment, either a pot or a field or a small pasture. Okay, so this is known as cutting. Like rose, apple, they are produced by sorry, the stem tubers. I'm so sorry. Grafting is especially rose and apple. So you have the tubers, just like potato, sweet potato. You can carry out their reproduction by human intervention by doing cutting. Then grafting is what you take one part of from one plant and the another part from the another plant. As I told you, what is artificial vegetative propagation? You are uh, trying to produce a plant variety regarding your interest. I mean, as per your interest, as per your desire. Okay, let's say you want to have a good quality plant, a good quality fruit, or a good quality vegetable, or a disease resistant plant. Okay, insecticide, pesticide resistant plant. So you do all these human intervention. So something known as stalk and scion. Uh, the upper part is known as scion. This you take it from plant one, let's say, and the lower part you take it from plant two, and you just join the two, and you wrap either a plastic film, okay, or a thin white cotton cloth, okay, and you wrap it and you apply some sort of glue material, wax, you apply for them to be held in one place. And after few days, you will see they will start growing as a one single part, okay, as a fused part, and then they will start growing as one single individual parent plant. Okay, so two different parts of the plant are joined. So we call this as a graft union. Then you wrap it and you wax it, apply some glue, and then after some days, there are these cambium tissues which are there in the middle over here, which will promote the union of the scion and the stalk. Okay, cambium tissue which will help in union of the two. Then they will start growing as a whole new single individual plant. So apple, then you have roses. Roses specifically are produced by this method, artificial vegetative reproduction. You see so many varieties of roses these days, na? White and blue, red and white. So it is possible by doing grafting. And the last one is by tissue culture. Tissue culture is more like a lab method. You just take few cells of any part of the plant, few cells or few parts, small parts of any part of the plant. You grow it under a lab condition. Okay, you grow it under a lab condition. First, you either grow it in a tube, test tube, or a flask, or a petri dish. And then when it reaches a particular height, small plantlets, then you transfer it to a field or a bigger pot or a bigger field. Okay, so what are you doing? From small tissues, the tissue is capable of growing into new saplings, and then these saplings are further converted, are grown into new plants. So here, everywhere you will see human intervention. Nothing is happening naturally. Obviously, the growth happens naturally, but a certain adjustment, certain manipulation is done by humans. Okay, now let's quickly just go through the advantages. Then we go to the disadvantages of vegetative propagation. So what are the advantages of the vegetative propagation? So here, only method of multiplication in seedless plants. Now here you will see we did not saw the picture of seeds coming in. I mean, the seeds coming into picture. As in, generally, what do we imagine? How does a plant grow? You take a seed, you burrow the seed under the soil, and then the seed germinates, and then it gives rise to the shoot system and the root system. But यहाँ पे there are considered no seeds were there. So all the plants which can be grown without the participation of seeds, we will so it's a big advantage of vegetative propagation. So it is the only method of multiplication in seedless plants. Example, sugarcane, banana, except those plants which are not having seeds can be grown through vegetative propagation, either artificially or naturally. Plants which do not have seeds can be grown by this. So it is one of the very plus point. Yes, seedless grapes, seedless orange. Yes, you get these varieties these days. So plant can multiply indefinitely. They can just grow, grow, grow without any change or variation. So if you are doing a banana, growing a banana by vegetative reproduction, it will give rise to banana plants only. So no change or variation you will see in this particular process. It is very rapid and the uniformity of the genes is maintained. So that is what we mean by no change or variation, which leads to genetic uniformity. Rapid multiplication will happen. It helps in producing disease-free plants because the purity of the genes is maintained in this particular process. Okay, good quality plants can be preserved for a longer period of time. Yes, so because you can, there are artificial methods also, so you can develop good qualities of plants and you can preserve it for a longer period of time. Also, I told you, if we talk about artificial vegetative reproduction, then you can grow plants according to your desires and needs. We call them as transgenic plants. For example, tomatoes these days can be modified genetically in such a way so that their shelf life is increased. Their skin does not become soft very quickly. So you can keep tomatoes for a longer period of time. Earlier, this was not possible. Let's say 10 years, 20 years ahead, I mean ago, if you bring tomatoes today, after 2-3 days, it might rot. But now if you keep it for, let's say 10 days also, it will not rot. Okay, so certain plants have been modified artificially, human intervention has been done in such a way that transgenic plants have been is now possible through genetic intervention. That is, you manipulate the genes and you do this for a good purpose. Okay. Now we move on to the disadvantages of vegetative propagation. So we saw advantages of vegetative propagation, like transgenic plants are possible. Then seedless plants can be grown through vegetative propagation. Also, good varieties, good qualities of plants can be produced and they can be preserved for a longer period of time. Yes. Now, what are the disadvantages of this method? One of the important disadvantages that vegetative propagules, okay, that is either propagules is either you take a bud or you take a scale, the node, okay, then or the bulbil. So the part which is capable of developing into a whole new plant, the part of the runner or the part of the stolon, which is capable of developing into a new plant. So we call that as a propagule, the part of the plant, okay, that we use it for making, reproducing a whole new plant. That get easily decayed, okay, it gets easily destroyed, decayed. Yes, and they are very much susceptible, very much prone to diseases like fungal, viral, or bacterial diseases. So those propagules can be attacked easily by viruses, bacteria, or fungus. So that this is one of the major disadvantage. And see, there is no variation. So if you want variation in your plants, so vegetative reproduction is not an option. Because in the advantage that if you want only pure line, pure genetic uniformity in the generations to come, then vegetative propagation is a plus. But if you are looking for variations in your plans, then that will not be possible. And if there are no variation, the chances of the plan to adapt to the changing environment becomes a bit challenging. So this is one of the disadvantage of vegetative propagation. Also, there is no dispersal of the propogules. Okay, like it happens in the sexual reproduction, the pollen grains or the seeds, let's say, you can disperse it over a larger area. This is not possible in vegetative reproduction. You are dealing with a particular part of the plant wherein that particular part of the plant gives rise to new plant in a very closed surrounding. So no dispersal of vegetative propagation, that gives overcrowding. Okay, it results into overcrowding. So there is no space out for these plants to grow luxuriously. Okay, take your notes, make a note of things that you don't understand. You can ask me in the live sessions. Okay, now moving to the last topic. So now we have covered all types of asexual reproduction. Okay, that is even the vegetative propagation. So let's just list down the advantages and disadvantages of asexual reproduction. So what happens in asexual reproduction is it is very quick because only one parent is involved, and there is no more time required in recombination of the genes, fusion of gametes, and as such. So that is why it is quick, because only one parent is needed and there is no requirement of gametes. And all the good characteristics can be passed on from one generation to the another generation. Yes, and if you are growing a particular plant in a particular favorable area, so the offspring will also come in that particular area only. So no dispersal on a larger scale will happen. So will grow in the same place where you want, same favorable environment as the parent plant is growing. Vegetative propagation serve as food reserve material for us, for animals, the tubers, the stem tubers and the root tubers. Okay, they are all storing food in them. Yes, and also as we discussed in the earlier slide also, these plants which propagate asexually, they have a rapid growth. On the other side, what are the disadvantages? They don't show variation or a very little variation because the genetic uniformity is maintained. So there will be no variation. And that is why if the environment keeps changing, so these plants will face challenges to adapt to the changing environment. So they will be accustomed in a particular environment only to grow properly. Okay, because their setup is tuned in a particular sense, that is they will like only a particular condition, a particular environment for their growth. If the environment changes, their adaptation is less likely to happen. Okay, offspring inherit bad characters. Yes, so though they do not have variation, they do not have those disease resistant genes, so they might develop infections, they might develop bacterial, fungal, or viral infection. So resistance from a disease is lowered in asexual reproduction. Okay, and lack of dispersal, as I told you, there is crowding, overcrowding of the plants because the parent plant is there and the offspring also start growing over there only. So there is competition. So the parent plant is growing and the offspring also starts growing in the same vicinity. So there is a competition for the nutrients, water, light, all of them are fighting for all these stuff. So these are the disadvantages regarding asexual reproduction, and these are the advantages. Make a note of everything. Also make a note of the questions that come to your mind, and then we can discuss that in live class. So that's all for this video. I have included an assignment over here. So what you're going to do is make a note of all the types of asexual reproduction that we have discussed up till now, and you're going to explain them in detail. So you're going to make a proper note in your notebook, like different types of asexual reproduction, their definition, their examples. So that will be in detail. So that's all for this video. In the next video, what are we going to cover? Now we will go to the sexual reproduction, and we will see what are the events that take place in sexual reproduction, and finally we move to the structure of the flower and its function. So thank you for now. Take care, all of you. See you in the next video.